Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today is going to be all about watercolor palettes. So I have here all of my watercolor palettes and all of my watercolor tubes, colors, and I'm going to show you how I create my different palettes and what is the rationale behind all of my palettes. So let me take all of this out. So this is everything I'm going to be using today, and maybe I'm going to use also 100% colored 100% cotton sketchbook. Let me grab this quickly. Here it is, and I have water on the side, and I have everything here. So lately I've been thinking about my palettes, and let me clean up the space a little bit. We don't need everything right now. And those 5 palettes here are my main working palettes. And I realized I have quite a few, and I thought I was gonna take you through what is inside these different palettes, what colors do I have, how do I use them, what's the difference, and also just my logics when I'm thinking about my limited palettes. If you're new here, I'm Joanna, and I'm a self-taught artist, and I share my journey here on YouTube. And today I'm going to be talking about limited palettes because I love working with limited palettes, especially for watercolors. So first, let me open all of these palettes so that you can see what's inside. And for those who have been following me for a while, you probably have seen me when I was creating the first version of this palette, of the colors. These are the colors I chose during a YouTube video. I'm going to link it in the description. And this is basically the same. I just switched this blue here with a virgin green, but I'm going to talk you through that in a while. So those two are portable painter micro palettes, and I really like them. They're super compact and super easy. They are plastic, so if you have, like me, this is my easel that I take with me when I'm doing plein air and even sometimes on my couch. And I have a magnet here, and what I do usually is that I put it here, and I don't use this big mixing space usually, so I just put the magnet here and it stays then in there. It's not super secure, but it's plenty enough when I'm doing plein air. So that's how I still use my plastic palette even with this easel. Then those two are my bigger, let's say, watercolor palettes. I don't go any bigger than that because I like to work with limited palettes, as I say, and I think you can already put quite a lot in there. So this one is more or less the one I've created when I was going on a Croatia art retreat in September last year. So I experimented with lots of different colors compared to my usual one, and as time I will go through it. This is gouache, this is gold gouache actually, and it's a very recent addition. I haven't tasted it yet. And this one is, let's say, more of my in-house palette. It's more of a classical palette in a sense, but I really like it too, and there are some really fun twists that I'm gonna walk you through also. And same, there is a gouache here, and this is copper. And the last one is this portable painter classic. It's a very smart design, but for now I don't use it so much outside because I'm not very comfortable with using a water outside, so I usually use water brushes, and then it doesn't make sense to have this whole setup for water brushes. So I use it a lot on my couch, and same, it's just a very fun experiment with colors. I like to experiment with colors. And similarly, if I want to put it on my portable painter, if I want to use this plastic palette here on my easel, I'm just gonna do this here and secure it to the side. So same, it's not like super secure, but it's enough for what I'm doing. And it's just make sure it doesn't stumble around. you can't really push super hard on this part, but it's okay. Or I can turn it the other way around depending on how much mixing space I need or what type of mixing space I need. I can also do it this way here and just put it like that. Yeah. And then the sketchbook goes there, if you're wondering. You just open it like so. I think I have a full video on that somewhere on my channel. And you put your sketchbook like so, and then you use grips or whatever. And so that's the basic ideas of my different palettes, and we're gonna, sorry for that loud, and we're gonna swatch them and just walk through them. So this last couple weeks I've been super interested into colors. So as you can see here, I've been experimenting a lot with colors and how to create your own granulating colors, which mixes worked, which one were my granulating colors, which one were my non-granulating colors, how they react, what type of mixes I could make. And I went a little bit crazy, like basically every evening or night, I was just playing with colors. And I actually love how it makes, and experimenting with different types of greens I could make, different type of muted colors I could create with different palettes, and just, you know, getting to know my colors as much as I could. And then those were all the types of experiments. And this is 100% cotton paper. It's Arches paper. It is cold pressed. And then this here is this is not 100% cotton paper, it's 35% cotton and the rest is cellulose. And it's just my go-to sketchbooks for any type of experiments or whatever. And I've been using this one quite a lot these last days too. Same to experiment with colors. So for instance here, I'm trying to recreate the same scene with different palettes to see how my different palettes behave for different types of scenes, what type of mixes I can create. I've been comparing some of the colors I have in different palettes because I have a lot of ochres or similar to ochres colors, and I wanted to see how different they were across different brands. I had different roses, carmine, depending on how you call it. And so I wanted to see how different they were, same for my yellows, same for my greens. So, you know, trying to see what colors they have double or triple of, which one did I prefer across the brands, and yeah, just experimenting. This, again, this was experimenting with different palettes and see how we changed the mood of the scene. So I've been doing a lot of that these days, and I've been also, where is it? Here, I've been swatching all of my palettes. So those are the two micro. This one is this one here. This one is this one here. And then this one there is probably this one here, the portable painter. Then we have this one here. It's not really convenient. This one here. And finally, this one here. But I'm gonna go through it all with you again today on the 100% cotton paper, but just wanted to show you this. And before we dive into the swatches, I just wanted to show you how I came across this collection of watercolors. So if I put my palettes to the side for now and bring this here. So this is my collection of watercolors, basically. This is the first palette I ever owned. This is the Winsor & Newton Cotman 45 half pan, something like that. So yeah, this is what I've started watercolors with. And there are lots of colors. And I don't really like having such big choice of colors. And as you can see, there are some holes here and there because I took some of those out to put in my Portable Painter Classic. Because basically the Portable Painter Classic, you cannot put regular half pans, but the Winsor & Newton half pans are a bit smaller than the regular half pans. So you can put them in the Portable Painter Classic. So I just take, not really random, but experiment with different colors combination. And then when I want to switch, I put them back in, and then I take another one. And my goal is to go through all of those at some point. As you can see, some receives much more love than others. This is my sap green. Those are my blue. This is Cerulean blue, I think. Ultramarine cobalt. I also have a field case of Winsor & Newton Cotman. So some of the colors I have in double, and also when you buy this palette, some of the primaries come double. So I think the lemon yellow, there were 2 of those. The Alison Crimson, there were 2. And maybe the ultramarine and the one black and one white, not sure, came in 2. So I have some of these in my portable painter here. You can see this one comes from there, this one comes from there, this one comes from there, this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, and this one. Most of those actually. All the normal ones come from here. And those are the ones I filled up myself, and you can see they're not as well filled as the others. And the remaining of those from my field case are in my field case at my workplace, so that I also have a very small kit at my workplace. So this is my main collection. Then I bought, a year ago or so, I bought those. Those are the White Knights. And basically I wanted to have a case like this one, and there were no empty ones available anymore at my art shop. So I decided to buy a set of White Knights watercolors, because they're supposed to be professional watercolors. It's a Russian brand, and they were some of the cheapest I could find with a metal case and professional watercolors. So those I don't use are here, and the others I put in there. And the case of the White Knights is a pretty purple case, so lilac case, and I put my dry gouache inside it. And in this small box, I put all the colors that are already in pans that I don't use, and I put here some tape, some magnetic tape, magnetic tape underneath, so that I just can pop them here and they don't move around. And it's also very convenient inside this to have those underneath. That is just secured inside. So that's for my first 2 sets, which were already in pans. And then I also bought some tubes of watercolors, because I find it more economic and it's easier for me to try out colors. I just put a little bit into a half pan and bring it around and see if I like it or not. And there I have a variety. I have a YouTube video where I show most of those and swatch most of those, except these 3 that are new ones. Those 3 are granulating watercolors, and they were on sale, and I wanted to see how they were. I did not actually get the one I ordered, because there was probably my order. But anyway, and those are the ones I showed in my previous video that I will link. On the brand side, I have some Daniel Smith. Those are the really small ones because they're the most expensive. I have some Sennelier, which were on sale, I think. Some Winsor & Newton, and some Schminke Horberdam. My main palette, this small thing here, is only, except this one, Schminke Horberdam. And I like them. I have the dot card, and on my previous video I show all the swatches and how I chose these few colors. And I really like them, but they're kind of plain in a way. And now I'm experimenting more and more with different brands, seeing how they re-wet, how they react, and just having fun with different colors. I'm in a very experimenting mood these days. So enough talking, let's go on to the swatching. So I'm gonna just swatch the different colors and show you some of my favorite mixes or the logics of the palettes I am swatching, or why did I put all these colors together. But first I need to change my battery. Here we come again. So let's start with this one here. This is a Portable Painter Micro, and when I created this palette I wanted basically to have the primaries here and then some more earthy or warmer primaries on top. Because I like to do landscapes. If you don't know me, I mostly do landscapes and then I experiment with lots of different stuff, but primarily I do landscapes. So I wanted to have a palette that had a lot of earthy colors and where I could mix a lot of different types of greens. So this one here is transparent ochre. It is from Schminke Hovedam. This next is transparent. What did I say? This one is transparent ochre and this one is transparent sienna, sorry. It's a gorgeous, very strong orangey, earthy orangey color. And I love to mix it with ultramarine. So these two colors in any type of media actually I love to, like in gouache too, I love to mix ultramarine and sienna. It makes such beautiful neutrals and browns. I'm just gonna leave them bleed into one another because I think it makes for pretty swatches. And this one is the French ultramarine by Schminke and it's a heavily granulating ultramarine. Before I had heliocerulean here, but I put it on another palette. And now I have Daniel Smith Viridian, and this is their granulating Viridian. And it's not super intense like some Viridian that are very, very, very heavily, very strong in color. This one is a bit less. This is Ruby Red, and it's a gorgeous rose thing. And you can make beautiful, very clean mixes with this. And this one is pure yellow. It's also a Schminke. And I'm not fond of lemon yellows. I know they are really great for some mixes, but I tend to like slightly warmer yellows, and I didn't want to go too warm. And this pure yellow was just the perfect mix of warm but not too warm. And you can see it's already drying and you can see the granulation. And yeah, that is something I'm thinking about more and more when I'm doing my watercolor palettes, is to have a mix of granulating colors and non-granulating colors so that I can make different types of mixes, and to have a mix of transparent colors, non-transparent colors, single pigmented. So I try to have all of this in mind, and basically when I'm doing very limited palettes, I try to have single pigments because I don't have to think so much when I'm doing mixes. I know that they will kind of mix nicely and to have transparent colors for the same reason. And on my bigger palettes, I can experiment with more semi-opaque and not single pigmented colors. So this one is kind of my basic palette, and you can do all type of very usual mixes. So if I take my ultramarine, my palette is not super clean, so the mixes will be a little bit tinted, and I put it with my ruby red, and then if I put some green in it, I can get some really beautiful, more muted colors out of that. I love this mix actually. I have a pan with this exact mix that I created myself. And then with this ochre and ultramarine, you can make some beautiful greens like that. And like I said, if you put the sienna and the ultramarine, it just makes the most gorgeous brown, and it can lean towards a gray depending on the amount of blue of ultramarine you're putting in. So it's just a very convenient palette, and it's not very experimenting. The experimentation here comes from the Viridian that I added because I wanted to have another granulating to complement the ultramarine, and I realized I tend to use more my ultramarine blue and not so much my heliocerulean, so it didn't make so much sense to keep it in there, and I thought about experimenting with something else. I'm struggling to close it anyway. And also I realized that and something to bear in mind also is these colors are very, very bright, but I don't use them on their own. I use them to mute down some other mixes that I create or to mix colors. So for instance, this one and this one, it can create this very muted color. Same if I put my yellow with my ultramarine, it creates some very muted greens. So yeah, it's not like, I try to have a diversity of colors that allow me to create a diversity of mixes, because I like to mix colors. This is my other portable painter micro. I wanted to use this for gouache when I created this one, and then I realized that I was in a playful watercolor mood, so I decided no, let's go with watercolors again. So this is lemon yellow, and you can see how it's much cooler compared to the pure yellow, even the parts that have not been tinted by the ruby red. And this is from Sennelier, and I'm experimenting with it. Like, I'm not a fan of very cool yellows, but it can be great for mixes, and I had so many weird colors here already that I wanted to have kind of a staple color too. This is French Vermilion from Sennelier too, and I love Sennelier watercolors. They are so, I think they have honey and they're so creamy, it's really nice. This is Cobalt Turquoise from Winsor & Newton, the professional line. And it's a granulating color, though it does not granulate so much. And it just creates fun mixes. So here I'm experimenting with my blues, and I have two very bright blues and a very bright yellow, and it's fun to see if I can still create some muted greens or what type of greens I can create. Then I have another Sennelier here, it's Warm Sepia. Beautiful color too, that I use to mute down my greens, basically. And then the fun twist in this palette, I mean, this palette is already really fun. This is from Mielo, I don't know how you pronounce this brand. Gold Mission is the watercolor line, and it's a granulating color, and it's like granite black or something like that, stone granite black, and it's heavily granulating, and it's not super tinting, so I use it actually to play with the other colors. So if I mix my Cerulean with this one, you can create this beautiful blue that is not super dark, so it does not turn my colors too dark. I can still see the underneath color, but it adds this granulation that is really fun, I think. So it can, and if I put a bit of French Vermilion inside, and then some black, some more blue, I can still create some very moody and muted mixes, and I love that. And for my greens, so if you just use this lemon yellow and then if you add some cobalt, it creates this very, very neon green. But then if you add a little bit of the warm sepia, you can have this gorgeous earthy green. And same if I add the French Vermilion, because it's a red and it's not a magenta, I can also mute down my greens very nicely. So if I take again this lemon yellow, and this time I put cerulean here. Oh, you could not see this, sorry. So yeah, here I was trying also with the heliocerulean and the lemon yellow and what type of green I could create, and it also creates a very turquoise blue-green, and if I add red, I can get this brown, and I find it harder to create earthy greens with the red compared to the brown, because this red is very highly tinting. So those are just experiments with these three colors and a different balance of the three colors, and you can see that it shifts very heavily depending on which color you put. Whereas this warm sepia is not super tinting, so it's very easy to mute down a green and to get this very olive green. I'm not sure if you can see well on camera, but this one is much more brown and warm, and this one is a very olive moss green. And I really like the greens that I'm able to mix here, even if the palette is not very obvious for mixing green or for mixing earthy greens when you look at it. And here you can see the granulation and color separation from this granite and this one here. This one is already a little bit granulating, so I don't really need to add this to create granulation. To mute down my greens, I could also use this one. So there are lots of mixes I can make to have either very bright and pop of colors, or to mute down the colors and have more earthy colors. And I'm digging more and more this palette because the colors seem kind of random, but I actually, in my landscapes for now, I was pretty happy with the mixes I could make, and I was able to render a very moody and atmospheric landscapes. And those are now dry, so you can see the heavy granulation of the French ultramarine and how it granulates in the mixes and the gorgeous mixes you can make with the sienna and the ultramarine. So those are my micro palettes. And now let's move on to the two bigger ones that I bring with me too. Closing this first. So let's start with this one. This one is the one I created for going in Croatia, and I changed things around a little bit since then, but it's basically the same. So I have my lemon yellow again, the same, the Sennelier. This is quinacridone gold, it's a gorgeous color. This is ruby red, potter's pink, lavender, my mix, like this mix here, but with more ultramarine in there. I will show you. This one is a very new addition because I realized I really loved how the red behaved with the different colors, and I wanted to see how this cadmium red will do with the other colors. Those are two greens, and those are kind of special greens, and those are ultramarine and helio cerulean from Schminke, so the same as this one and this one. So I'm not going to swatch everything, I'm just going to swatch the new ones and maybe some mixes that are fun. This color I really love. This is Sennelier quinacridone gold, and it goes from this very almost orangey color, and then if you dilute it, it goes all the way to a very nice yellow, almost yellow ochre here. So I find it to be a very versatile color, and it somehow reminds me of a mix of this sienna here and this ochre here. You can see the drying shift is crazy here, how less vibrant they are when they dry. This is also something I realized, that some colors I thought were super vibrant, and when they dry they became kind of flat, compared to other that just kept this pop. But anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. So this is quinacridone gold. Gorgeous color, and I use it also for mixes, and it's super nice. This is potter's pink. So this is a Winsor & Newton, and it's granulating and it's low tinting, and I use it kind of similarly to the other granulating low tinting colors. Basically it's to mute down some colors and to add this pop of granulation. And if I, for instance, if I mix the two, I'm going to do it on the paper because my palette is so dirty. I cannot do much on my palette right now. So it mutes anyway down my quinacridone gold to this very earthy color, and it also adds this granulation that can be really fun to play with. And at some point, like last year, I don't know, I was super into granulation, and then I had a lot of granulating colors, and I realized that I also need non-granulating colors, otherwise my landscapes are just very crazy. This is lavender, and this I use for some distant elements or for some subtle shadows and stuff like that. And I just put a little bit of this in whatever color I need to push into the distance. It's not a color I use so much. I think I'm not very familiar yet with the color and how to use it. So I'm still very much experimenting with this one. And it can be quite opaque also. So I find it somehow to be a little bit tricky to use. Potter's pink went into my workflow way easier compared to the lavender. This here is my mix, my violet, because I love moody violet. I don't really use it so much actually. I just love the color. It's more of a fun thing than a color I really use. And it's funny because I have a violet on my other palette and I tend to use it quite a lot, but this one I don't know, I don't. Maybe because it's very granulating and it's a bit more intense that way what I intended, but still muted. I don't know, I haven't found how to use it yet. So as you can see, this palette is a lot of experimenting here. A lot of colors I love, but I'm not sure how to use yet. These two you already know. This is the cadmium red light from White Nights. So I use it quite similarly to the French vermilion from Sennelier, but this one leans towards orange a bit more compared to this one. And like I said, it's a new edition, so I haven't used it so much with the other colors yet. These two here are two greens from, this one is Undersea Green from Daniel Smith. And it's a beautiful green, so it's quite vibrant when you put it down, and I realized it dries quite brown actually. It's very interesting. It's very natural, very earthy. It's a granulating color and it's a mix of lots of different colors. So this type of colors I will use for backgrounds or for kind of setting the atmosphere, but I don't really use in combination with the other colors because it's such standalone color in a way. It has heavy granulation, it has pigment separation, it has multiple pigments. And I think when you mix it, it can end up being very muddy or very, you never really know what type of color you're gonna get when you do that. So I tend not to really use it in combination with the other colors. Not like the Potter's Pink, which is single pigmented and which is granulating, which I use to mute down and add granulation to other pigments. This one, I think it's better to leave on its own. And I use it, for instance, when I'm doing sketches to create a nice abstract background, or when I'm going plein air to give this first wash over the whole thing. So yeah, I use it very differently compared to the others. Usually I'm all about mixing colors, but some colors I just don't mix. I really use as a standalone color. And this one is Greenish Umber, I think. Greenish, it's kind of a shadow green. I don't remember the exact name. It's from Sennelier, and it's kind of similar to Perylene Green, but this one leans more toward gray, and it's a bit more moody compared to Perylene Green, where you can definitely say it's a green. This one is just a tiny bit cooler and tiny bit grayer. So yeah, beautiful color. And this one I like to mix actually. I don't remember if it's single pigmented. I tend to check now and then, but I think it creates really nice mixes, and it's nice to just darken up some other colors or things like that. And then this here, oh, it's already dry. This is Shinhan Gouache. It comes from my subscription gouache box from Sarah Byrne. And it's just to add pops of colors in my landscapes. I haven't used it yet, but that's the plan, to bring it plein air and just to add very small accents here and there. And I was afraid it won't be rewetting well, but it's actually rewetting quite well. So that's nice. Then you have glitters all over your water and your brush. But anyway, so those are the colors, and you will see when this dries how it creates different things. And this palette is so dirty, I'm really sorry. It's hard to show you nice mixes here, but if I mix, for instance, my ultramarine here with a bit of Potter's Pink, and a bit of quinacridone, you can create really nice greens like that. I'm all about muted greens. I love muted greens. And then if I take this and add my blue, that is more of a bright blue, I can create this really nice muted thing. And if I add a tiny bit of red, of cadmium red inside, can get this really nice shadowy color. So this palette, same, you can do a lot of very interesting things. I still have my three primaries, my three bright primaries if I want to have very bright mixes and very strong color mixes. If I want to have very clean color mixes, but I also have a lot of experiment colors. So this is very much of an experimenting palette and a few standalone colors. So it's a fun palette, and this one I will take out more when I'm going, for instance, to museums where I know I will have a lot of sketches and will just put the watercolors as accents or as a standalone color like that. I don't necessarily do full landscapes with those. I sometimes do, but then I need more time to think about my mixes because I'm less, I know them less. So it's still a palette I'm working with. This one was supposed to be quite the same, but I ended up realizing I somehow already know it. So it came very intuitively to me, this one, for some reason. You have more usual colors. So those are most of my white nights. Here you have, I think it's a cadmium yellow, carmine, cobalt, azure blue, ultramarine blue. This is raw umber, I think, raw sienna, and ochre, red ochre, and burnt umber. Sorry, and viridian. And this here is perylene green. I'm going to show this one to you. This is copper. This is buff titanium. It's a bit the same as lilac. It's something I'm experimenting with right now. And this is neutral tint. Beautiful black, this one. So let me maybe shift page. I'm taking so much space for these swatches. But I think it's good to have really big ones so that you can really see the colors. And look at this granulation that happens in this one here. So yeah, let's turn the page, and I'm almost at the end of my sketchbook. Maybe we'll finish the sketchbook with swatches. That would be nice. So you don't know any of the colors that are in here, so let me swatch them. So this is the cadmium yellow, and it's closer to lemon yellow. It's a very cool yellow, or maybe it is lemon yellow actually. Is it? No, it's cadmium. Sorry, and it's a bit opaque. This one. This is carmine, and it's beautiful pink again that you use for your primaries, and it's gorgeous. I didn't like it when I first swatched it, and now I'm growing more and more fond of this. The texture of the paper will be a little bit different on this side, so I hope you will still be able to see the granulations and see the colors. I'm using very watery things right now. I like to water down. This blue here is cobalt azure blue, and first I thought it was going to be like my helio cerulean, but it's actually much cobalt. It's darker and warmer somehow. And then this ultramarine here that does not granulate as much as my French ultramarine from Schminke, but it's still very beautiful ultramarine. Yeah, so those are very basic classical colors. That's viridian. This viridian is very, very bright. This is the type of viridian we're like, what am I going to do with this viridian? But I don't know, probably you already know, but a beautiful mix you can do is these two colors together. They create a beautiful neutral purplish color that is just gorgeous. I love this mix. This is the ochre light. I love ochres. Maybe you can see it's a very, it had a lot of use. It looks very green because my water is not, I'm trying to get just the color. Ah, that's better. You can see the actual color of this. Yeah, that's the actual color. And it's not very powerful, and it's already very greenish somehow. Like even when it's the proper color, it's kind of low tinting and very, very how you say that? Very muted and earthy already. This one is the red ochre, and I love this color. This is very powerful too. It's very similar to my transparent sienna from Schminke. And same, these two together can create this beautiful mix again. And then this one is raw umber, burnt umber, I think. Which is this warm brown like that. Beautiful color too. So yeah, those are kind of classical colors. And then to mix things up, I've added this thing. This is neutral gray from Winsor & Newton. And I love it. It has kind of a purplish undertone, and I just really like this type of cool blacks compared to lamp black that is much more of a warm black. This is Pyroline Green. Beautiful, beautiful color. More green than the greenish umber from Sennelier. This one is from Schminke, and it's non-granulating also. A very dark green, but I don't tend to use it alone because I think the green is not super natural, so I would mix a little bit of this or that or any earthy color in it. I love earthy colors, if you have not realized yet. And this is buff titanium, so it is tinted with whatever I put before in there. But it's semi-opaque, I think, and it's basically a color you would use to whiten out some of the other colors. And it's an interesting color to play with, I think, for landscapes especially. And this here is my copper, and the idea is the same as with my gold, just to use it to add pops of colors. It's a really nice color actually. I love this copper. And it's such an autumny color, but I think it can also work in florals or stuff like that. It's almost like Indian red, or I don't know, it's really beautiful, I think. And I'm not sure if you can see the shine or if even I can see the shine. Maybe it does not shine as much when it's been re-wetted. But yeah, this is this palette, and this is a very basic palette in a way. This is just my my palette when I don't want to think too much about the mixes I'm creating, with just this row here that is a little bit more experimenting, but those colors are kind of the colors you will find in any type of limited color palette or any landscape palette or something like that. So you can have these really nice mixes, and then you have your earthy colors here and this beautiful brown, and basically you're ready to go. And yeah, I don't really like this ochre here, so I just want to use it up, and then I will switch to some of the other ochres I have, which I like more. But I'm finding it more and more, now that I see the quinacridone gold, I'm more and more getting used to this vibrancy of the quinacridone gold when it's getting diluted compared to the real ochres that are a bit too flat or too dull for me, for my taste right now. And I really love how this swatch page came out. I think those colors are so vibrant compared to these ones. It's crazy. And here you can see how bluish, grayish the greenish umber has turned compared to this one. I'm not sure if you can see it here on camera, but this one is much more green compared to this one. And here you can see all the granulation happening in here too, and here. Beautiful. And this one is the neutral tint, and you can probably see how violetish it looks like. Yeah, this one would usually be the palette I will be taking outside if I'm gonna paint outside for landscapes, and I'm not taking this small one, or in addition to one of the small ones, I'll be taking these ones. And you can see here also, like what I was saying, or maybe I can show you even better. this crazy mix of pink and viridian that creates this color. I still find it crazy that it creates this color. It's a beautiful purple. And you can have it leaning a bit more towards a cool gray, depending on the amount of viridian you're putting inside. But it's such a beautiful mix. And viridian is really nice for just, how to call that, to mute down things. So this is burnt umber and viridian, and you can get this very earthy green just from these two colors. So viridian is very intense on its own, but it can be really useful in addition to other colors to create some really nice types of greens. And this one is viridian with red ochre. And it creates, again, a beautiful green. I just find it crazy how this very intense phthalo green can make beautiful earthy mix like that. So these colors together are super nice. And if you add this and this, I think I could leave those two out and just change this one with a quinacridone and to be a perfect palette for me. Yeah, I'm a sucker for earthy colors. And then we come to this one. So this one I switch around quite a lot because it is just my palette that I have next to me when I'm painting in the evenings. So I have the cerulean, the lavender here, the lavender, the greenish umber, so this color here, the potter's pink, this color here. So those are three colors you already know, and all of those are Winsor & Newton Cotman watercolors. So this is a basic lemon yellow, which is very greenish because I tend to use it to create green mixes. This is my ochre, I think, from Winsor & Newton Cotman, and I really like it. I think it's one of my favorite ochres. Then this is red light. And it's just a beautiful earthy red. I like earthy reds too. And I use it similar to my siennas, even if it's less orangey. And it's funny, it really resembles copper here. I didn't know how copper and gold would react, but it's very interesting to see. This is permanent rose, very, very rose. I use it very similarly to this carmine, even if it's less tinting, less intense, and it has less depth. It's much more of a simple rose in a way. This is sap green. I used to love sap green and to use it everywhere. I thought it was the perfect yellowish green that you find in nature when in spring or whatever. So I used to use it all the time. That's why it's so small, and I plan on finishing them up now. I have also a beautiful sap green from White Nights on here, on one of the big, this one here. Just gonna show you quickly. Yeah, it's almost neon, it's crazy. And I really thought those were very natural greens at some point. But let's wait also until it dries. This is a viridian, because now you know I like viridians. I used to think like, what are these colors? Why are these colors in palettes? Like, what are you supposed to do with such a neon color? But now I like them. This is turquoise. Beautiful blue. I have so many blues on this big Winsor & Newton palette, and I try to use them. This is Prussian blue. It's very, very subtle. And I don't know if it's because it's the Cotman version, if it's because I had a problem on mine, but it re-wets not so well, and it creates, I really like the blue it creates, but it's just such a low tinting blue. And then this is Dioxazine Violet, something like that. It's a very, very bright violet. And I really like this violet too. I use it for mixes again. this type of bright colors, I don't really use them on their own. I use them for mixes, and they're really fun for mixes. So yeah, those are all of my colors, all of my palettes. As you can see, I like to kind of have my basics, and my basics would be earthy colors and a few bright colors to mix things up and to be able to create lots of mixes, because I love to mix watercolors. I think it's just the perfect medium for mixing colors, basically. And then I like to experiment also with some unusual colors or some more granulating colors with pigment separation, just to add this little thing to my paintings and to just play around with all the variety that you can get from watercolors, because you have so many characteristics and features of watercolors, and I'm still experimenting to see what I like to use, what I don't like to use, how I like to use it and all. But yeah, this is still a red, so I cannot really turn the page, but those are all of my currently used watercolors with some of my favorite colors and favorite mixes, and I will probably continue to experiment with those and continue to change them around. I think my two favorite, my favorite I think is this one. It's a very unusual limited palette, but like I said, I can have very clean mixes, but I can also have so many moody and earthy colors and play with granulation with this one. So I really like this one. This one is more of a basic palette, classical palette that I also like, but I'm growing sometimes tired of it. I still love the mixes I can do with this one. I'm really glad I added the Viridian to change things around, but I'm just not... I like to have lots of muted and just one or two bright colors, or I think I like better bright blues compared to bright yellows or pinks. I don't know, I just dig into this one a lot right now and a little bit less into this one right now. This color I really love, these colors together I really love, and on this palette it's a palette I'm not very used to yet, but there are some really gorgeous colors and I want to experiment more with these, and I would be definitely putting this one on my staples more and more, maybe put this one in here and change a little bit things around here. Yeah, beautiful color for just a standalone color. Beautiful moody color that I need to learn more how to use in a way that makes it justice. The gold, very new addition. I added it last week, I think, or something like that. So haven't taken it to full paintings or plein air yet. I'm gonna see how it works and if it adds something or not. It's much less opaque than what I wanted or what I expected, but it's also wet gouache, so I probably need to rewet it before so that it has its full strength. And here, basic palette, I'd say this one does not excite me as much, but it's just a comforting palette in a sense, a little bit like this one here. I would say those two are equivalent for me. It's just not super exciting, but with a little bit of a twist to make it a bit more interesting. And same here, the twist comes from these colors here. But the basics one are kind of usual, and I don't play so much with granulations and stuff like that here. So it's a very clean palette in a way. And then the last one, this is just my evening study palette. So it changes very often, and it's just the one for playing around and doing quick studies. So it's not someone I'm very attached. It's not a palette I'm super attached to. It's just there right now, and it changes a lot. But I'm really glad to have this big pool of colors here and this small thing here that is super convenient for evening studies, and I can just change things around in there. And I also have the colors I'm less used to, like this one, to kind of learn how I like to use it. So yeah, this was a very long video all about colors and swatching, but I hope it was interesting and it just inspired you to grab your colors. If you're still watching and if you're still listening, thank you very much. And just let me know in the comments if you had to choose 6 colors, what would be your 6 watercolors colors that you will bring everywhere in such a setting, for instance. For me, right now, it's this 6, which are very random, but I love them. Yeah, and I would love to know, and I would love to add this one also, but I don't have space in there, so we'd add it here. Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked again. So many beautiful colors. I have such an addiction to watercolors and colors, but I'd love to hear about your favorite mixes and your favorite colors. So let me know, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!